Hello everyone at Python Conference Hong Kong 2025. In this session, actually, I will talk about ABLIS2 BPF rule. And maybe the title is not good enough because I am at the start I am confused what a title that I will choose. So I just choose this title. But this topic actually about a tool that integrate two key component, BPF filter, and a reverse proxy web application firewall. This tool is primarily designed to mitigate some medium rate flooding attack and using extra data path hook of BPF filter. And let's start with a brief introduction about me. I am actually working at Dominisia as a system administrator from 2022 until now. And before, I'm also working at the same company with the role of technical support, and I have also held a past talk about some integration of Immunify 316 log that decide the event of with WordPress CLI vulnerability scanning. And the talk is at Python Conference Asia Pacific 2024. And I'm also just a normal human who sometimes love music and join music jamming at my local community. And let's just start at the background. It's actually starting with some HTTP flood that attacking some domain at my company. And I'm only focusing to layer 7 HTTP attack that could burden the local WAF or the local flooding protection. And the attack pattern actually come with a repetitive attacker IP address that targeted some domain at my company. And why are we not using Cloudflare or some other scrubbing method? For Cloudflare, it has some limitation. We could only add 5 WAF rule, and we could only create 10-second rate limiting and need name server change. And not all user want to change their name server. And we can solve this problem by upgrading to more than the pro version, but come at a cost. And for the other solution, we could also use some complex scrubbing center, but it has too many costs for a medium rate attack. So I am not using that method. And for the mitigation mechanism, it starts at the local server that analyze the volume-based request from the log, and we check also the net filter contract count and TCP usage from Procnet Sockstat. If it exceed the threshold of 9,000 or more net filter contract count, we decide that it is probably a higher probability of DDoS. And if it detect 100 or more requests from 3 different IP address within 12 seconds, it will regard as DDoS too. And currently, I am using reverse proxy WAF for this mitigation because by only blocking from the local server, it could bring more stress at the local server. As I explained before, that we need a reverse proxy WAF, but is the only reverse proxy WAF or the product that I use SafeLane enough? No, because It is operate on single threaded for the free version, and it rely too many on user level for blocking the attack. So if we have more repetitive IP address attack, and it will be blocked for maybe 20-minute period, but after the blocking period it will release the block, then it will repeat with too many IP address come to the safe line server or the reverse proxy WAF server, and it could result in higher resource, higher CPU resource and higher memory resource, and this is not scalable. So as I am in the early phase of exploration of eBPF, I discover some technology from the kernel, like for example extra data path, technology for early packet processing that enhance kernel functionality dynamically. It could use for enabling tracing and detecting all event inside the server, or it could also be used for detecting malicious activity. And extra data path also one of their technology that will be used for high performance ingress packet processing, allowing for efficient packet handling. But while learning eBPF, I found that XDP programming is too much for me and too much for the organization because it is low-level programming. So I chose to use BPF filter. This is a open source product from Meta or Facebook, and I combine it with SafeLine. The flow of the combining method is like this. The BPF filter will convert the rule to BPF bytecode, then all requests come to the network card, then the BPF bytecode will choose to drop or pass to the network stack and continue to SafeLine and the server. And by using XDP, I could reduce some maybe memory trace to network socket inside the kernel. So by using XDP, I could block the attacking request more at the low-level kernel network. So it will reduce the resource usage. About BPF filter enhance packet filtering by converting high-level rule into a BPF bytecode for improved performance. It employs XDP for low latency processing and attach bytecode to network interface, enabling swift execution on incoming packet and increasing the efficiency of network blocking. And as I explained before, that BPF filter will convert BPF filter rule to XDP BPF bytecode by using BPF filter service. And BPF CLI actually used for creating the rule or updating the rule. And for blocking mechanism, it starts by collecting IP from the local server or from the SafeLine API. And we use we collect attacker address to hash of 1000 IP address by using in operator of BPF filter IP version 4 Meta. And by using the in operator, we can match 1000 of IP address in comma separated inside a curly bracket, and it could compare 1000 of IP address effectively because it uses a hash. And the example of the rule or chain is like this. This is the name of the chain, and this is the hook, BPF filter hooks XDP that will be attached to interface index number 2, and this is the rule, and this is the default verdict that mean if no rule match the request, it will accept all the requests. But if the request matches the rule, it will block or drop, and it will lock the layer 4 of TCP/IP and counter the dropped. And if you see the IP ADDR output, you will see that there is XDP generic. It means that the XDP bytecode already attached to the network card at ETH 0. But why I am using Python? Because in the Linux level or OS level, there is a limitation of argument list too long. If I am using bash scripting, I need to append 1,000 of IP address inside a file. Then I need to run BPF CLI to create the rule by using this file. But when I am appending the IP address to file, I will get the IRG argument list too long, that caused by IRG max value of 2 million. So because of this limitation, I need to use Python, and I don't use argument implementation in this Python, so I am not limited by this error. And I am using async EO2 for single threaded concurrent mechanism inside the Python, and for more flexible event-based sleep time. And by using async IO, I am wrapping the BPF filter CLI to create the rule and to parse the 1,000 of IP address, then create it as the rule of BPF filter CLI. Then I run all of it inside the service of IP list to BPF rule. This is the example of the system the service file. And this is actually the flow of my main coroutine. It starts by collecting YAML configuration, and inside there is S3 IP list that contain all the IP address from the local server, IP address of the attacker, and there is also SafeLine IPA token. And before I talk about event-based sleep time inside the async IO, I'm actually comparing ETAC with the chat version of ETAC to decide the sleep time. If no change to the chat ETAC, it will increment the counter ETAC. Then we'll decide the sleep time depend on the is high grade value, and the high NF filter and is high grade will be collected from high grade attack coroutine. And if the ETAC is changed, I need to block all IP address that come from the S3 IP list and block it by using XDP block list coroutine. Then we'll update the ETAC inside the chats and decide to restart some container based on the high NF filter TCP usage, and decide to set the counter ETAC to 0 because the ETAC has been updated, and decide to update the sleep time based on the same value as this. Then let's continue. Before I mention that I need to get all SafeLine IP address and append it to BPF filter if the ETAC is unchanged. The process of obtaining SafeLine attack IP address start with this. I will collect all attack IP address from the web application firewall rule and the web application firewall rule triggering event, and the anti-bot IP address triggering event, and the rate limit IP address triggering event. Then we'll combine it into one JSON. Then it will use to be blocked at the BPF filter. Then after we know that in this part and in this part we know that there is two group of IP address So how to utilize this group effectively? Can one chain encompass two rules, or are there two distinct rule set? I am actually appending the rule from the attacker IP address of safe line to the next line of the rule set. All attack IP from IP address will be collected and used for the combined attack IP address with chats coroutine. And if there, I will compare the hash chats of the attacking IP address chats. If the hash same, it will return nothing. If the hash not same, I need to collect safe line attack IP address from chats and combine it with this. Then I will get the combined IP address IP4 list. Then decide to update rule chats file. Then we'll check the append only variable. If this is true, I need to build the XDP rule and appending all IP address from this inside the chat rule file. Then the next, we'll need to update the rule chat file by using subprocess inside the async IO, and this actually contain two parts. Based on the chain XDP availability, if there is already a chain exists, we need to update it. If there is no chain exists, we need to create the new rule set. And what if the query per second of the attack higher than 700? When the query per second of the attack is in higher rate attack, it could cause the high resource inside the safe line reverse proxy WAF. So it's essential to decide a mechanism to block the attack when there is a higher rate attack. Based on this, I decide to compare the query per second that I collect from the safe line IPA. If it is higher than 700, then I need to check also the proxy net filter NF contract con and the TCP usage from the procnet sockstat. If this part higher than 6,000, higher or equal, and if this part higher or equal 500, then it will return true, and it will combine it with OR condition in this part. Then if the condition is true, it will continue to XDP block high KPS rate coroutine, and all attack IP address from safe line for specific domain that get from ACL record will be returned with the site ID as the key of the dictionary. If the dictionary exists, then the chats of IP attacker will be updated and the rule will be appended to the rule chats file, and the attack chats also will be updated, and the timestamp of this event of high rate attack will be saved too. Then it will return two Boolean value, is high rate and is high NF filter TCP usage. But if there is no dictionary exists, it will give a log of no new IP address returned. This is the example of the log of high grade attack. And this is actually for a real attack to some domain, and I am only showing some part of it because there is too many log. And what if there is a false negative condition? For false negative, I could create some regular expression rule inside the safe line. For example, for this regular expression, this is for the request argument for news ID. This is actually request argument for the injected site with gambling phishing, and all of this request argument is used for the flooding attack. So I create this regular expression rule to match the attack, and by using this WAF rule, we could reduce the detection from the container operation in the safe line WAF. And because before we used to collect the WAF IP address triggering event, all requests that match this regular expression will be collected to that part, and it will combine it with IP address inside the BPF filter rule, so it will block it at the lower kernel networking level too, and it will reduce the resource usage too. But what if there is a false positive for the challenge of the anti-bot? We could skip the challenge with specific condition, like when there is URL contains WP admin or referrer and contain header referrer WP admin. It means that this is a successful login of WP admin, so we need to skip the challenge for this condition. And we could also match some specific URL like WP content plugin and some static asset, because there is rarely even of flooding attack to static asset. So by using this pattern, we could reduce the false positive too. And for the result, before I am before December 12, I am not using BPF filter but only using SafeLine WAF. The network transfer history could reach 218 megabit per second, and this also trigger a black hole protection from the infrastructure. And after June 2025, I am starting to use BPF filter, but I am not using async I/O, but only using systemctl timer unit. Because the blocking mechanism rely on batching request to get all attack IP address from S3 and the SafeLine IPA. When there are time condition of systemctl timer unit not matched, it will only block the attack at the user level from SafeLine IPA, because it will not collect all the IP address when there is no systemctl timer unit match. So the result will be higher network transfer history too, with 120 megabit per second. And by using systemctl timer unit, there will be increased overhead, because there is condition of systemctl timer unit will not match, so it will cause more blocking at the user level. After utilizing BPF filter and async I/O, I could reduce the request transfer rate below 10 megabit per second. And after July, because I am collecting more IP address, it will reduce to more below 4 megabit per second. Until September, it only has 2 megabit per second. So by using this and BPF filter for lower level networking block, we could reduce more overhead inside the CPU usage, memory usage, and even the network rate will be reduced. And for CPU usage, from January until June, because I am only using SafeLine, it will result in higher CPU usage, but after June, it will reduce until below 100% CPU usage. And the key takeaway, it's preferable to utilize concurrent mechanism instead of using systemctl timer unit to collect the IP address, because there is a condition of systemctl timer unit not matched, and it will not trigger the systemctl service to collect the IP address and block at the lower level. And the solution is using async I/O for input-output bound activity, but because this is only operating on single thread, so maybe there is still limitation, but maybe in the next time I will explore more. And by using IP collection block and block it via XDP, I can block the attack and reduce the resource overhead over time by blocking it at the kernel network level. But there is still a problem of false positive and need pattern for whitelisting, and I need to do this manually to create the pattern and analyze the log. And by using Python, we are not affected by the hard coded of argument maximum at the kernel level. The argument maximum limit will not affect the process of writing thousands of IP address, because in the Python we are not using a method of argument to append the IP address. Maybe this is all of my presentation. Is there any question?